God bless everybody. Today is July 7th, 2025. And in this video, I'm going to show all the different connections I believe that we can look to in the next 2 months as we're moving from this month of Tammuz on the Hebrew calendar to the month of Av, which is considered the most cursed month in the Jewish history. And I believe there's a specific event sequence that's getting ready to happen in the next 60 days. So I wanted to point out all of these different connections to you so that you can hopefully see what could be coming and how this could affect us as we move into this fall. So to make this easier for everybody, I just put everything on a text file, and I'm going to sort of stay away from the Paradigm 2030 chart. But this actually locks you directly into that Paradigm 2030 chart. So I'm just going to show you where we are on the Paradigm 2030 chart, and I'll take you right back to the text file. But I want to at least show you where we are. We would actually be approximately around in this area right in here, and so I'll blow that up so you can see it. So I have updated this chart to June 24th of 2025. Okay, the last event that I've recorded on here pretty much to the next event that's getting ready to happen, which is Turkey's getting ready to break out and do an invasion into Lebanon and Israel in the end of July going into the month of Av, was that we would see, or we had seen on June 22nd, 2025, the American Air Force strike the nuclear targets in Iran. So the next thing I thought I would see around the 17th of Tammuz, because that's what it indicates here, which would be on July 13th of 2025, that we would start to see an invasion into Lebanon and Israel. And it's amazing how these dates line up with the kings or the leaders of today on this Paradigm 2030 chart, and I'm going to show you all those connections as we move forward. So over the last 8 to 10 years, I've been working on this Paradigm 2030 chart that I just showed you. And the whole theory is that 4 kings of today reflect 4 kings of the past. It's really that simple, in the position and time that they were in position, from past to future. So if you look at Ruven Rivlin, he would reflect Zedekiah in the Bible. And when you read the Bible and you read Zedekiah, you can portray that as it is happening right now, okay? When you look at Isaac Herzog, he reflects Jehoiakim in the time that he has been in place. Nebuchadnezzar reflects Erdogan of Turkey. And then we have a new leader that came out in October 20th of 2024, which is this Barzani, which is the leader of the Medes. And so this would be his first year this year. Like I say, each and every one of these kings or leaders of today reflect these leaders in position and time that they were in that position in the past. So each of these kings have what I call a time stamp. It tells them something happens in a year, in a month, in a day of this king, and that this event would occur. And so if you take that model into place, you will realize that you can actually project the past kings into the future and actually see what's getting ready to happen. Actually, I believe I can tell you what's getting ready to happen in the next 60 days based on this concept, theory, or pattern that I found. So I am going to use Jeremiah 1 and Jeremiah 25 to reflect what is happening today. And I believe you can see that based on the kings of the past to the future. So let's look at this. So we look at Jeremiah 1 verse 2, to whom the word of the Lord came in the days of Josiah, the son of Ammon, king of Judah, in the 13th year of his reign. Now I'm going to connect this to Jeremiah 25 right now because it indicates the same thing down here. In the 13th year of Josiah, the son of the king of Ammon of Judah. So just realize that Jeremiah 1 and Jeremiah 25 are somewhat linked in this. And I believe you're going to see this also a linking between the kings as we move forward here. But I just want to point this out, that the 13th year of Josiah, the son of Ammon, king of Judah, is stated in both of these verses in Jeremiah 1 and in Jeremiah 25. And that is extremely important because they work in tandem, or this correlation works together. So I want you to think about the kings of the past being kings of today, and that this is literally playing out in front of you right now. And I believe that you will understand it better as we move forward, especially as we get into the next 60 days. So when you look at verse 3 in Jeremiah 1, it came also in the days of Jehoiakim, or Isaac Herzog, of today. Now Isaac Herzog came in July 7th of 2021, and he is now, right now, the present president of Israel. So the son of Josiah, king of Judah, unto the end of the 11th year of Zedekiah. Now this is what really caught my eye in the last few days. I had my binder open and I kept looking over, and for some reason the end of the 11th year really seemed to resonate and was profound to me. So I needed to understand why this was drawing my attention. I believe I've uncovered something really important here. So when you look at the end of the 11th year of Zedekiah, which would be Ruven Rivlin, which is the past president of Israel, Isaac Herzog is the president today. Ruven Rivlin came in July 24th of 2014, and so his end of his 11th year would be July 24th of 2025. Well, it's July 7th of 2025 right now, so we're just about at this date in about 3 weeks or less. So I've left these verses up because you can go and look at the date stamp. It gives you the year, the king, the month, and the day for this very specific prophecy we're working on right now. It also indicates that there would be a carrying away of captivity of Jerusalem approximately on the 5th month, or the month of Av of this year. Okay. And that 5th month is between July 24th of 2025 and August 26th of 2025. Okay, so we're getting ready to go into that area of time in the next few weeks here. So this is extremely important that we understand that this could be reflecting us at this moment in time. And I think it's extremely important that he indicates, and I don't know why he did this, because I've never seen this date stamp quite set up like this, where it talks about it's at the end of the 11th year. Now, as you get into this July 24th date, as we move forward in this text file, you're going to realize there's some really interesting connections and correlations that happen around this time. So I'm wondering if he's warning us through this paradigm 2030, past kings to future kings, that if we look at the 11th year of Ruven Rivlin, which would be on July 24th of 2025, that we're going to see something happen to Israel in the 5th month, which would be between July 24th and of 2025 and August 26th of 2025. So is God trying to tell us that in the 5th month on the Jewish calendar of Ab, we are going to see something happen to Israel between the dates of July 24th and August 26th, which would be almost like a invasion of Turkey through Lebanon into Israel, and a siege on Israel itself through the nation of Turkey. When you look at Jeremiah 25:1, it indicates something that adds to this conversation. So up here, it talks about in the days of Jehoiakim, but it doesn't give you the year. It gives you the year of Zedekiah, which is at the end of his 11th year, which would be July 24th of 2025. When you go into Jeremiah 25:1, this is interesting because it indicates the word that came to Jeremiah concerning all the people of Judah in the 4th year of Jehoiakim. And I went ahead and added this because look at where we're at. Today is the end of the 4th year of Jehoiakim today, okay? Extremely important because now we're moving into the 5th year of Jehoiakim when you're looking at the Bible, and there's some things coming up in 2026. But Jehoiakim, or Isaac Herzog, is supposedly captured in this first siege and he's taken out of commission. So let's see how that works, because we possibly could see that happen in the next 60 days. So when you look at Jeremiah 25, you realize that the prophet Jeremiah is given the ability to become a prophet in chapter 25, verse 1 as you move forward. Okay, he's given the ability by having God touch his lips and allowing him to be a conduit through God to speak to Israel and the nations, okay, at this very specific time. And so this could be happening right now. We could have somebody on the ground that's being a conduit for God, trying to warn the nations that something's getting ready to happen. And we're getting ready to move into the 5th year of Jehoiakim. So this is extremely important because when you go up here, you realize the Ruven Rivlin, his 11th year ends on July 24th of 2025. Both leaders, past and future leaders today, are being affected in the month of July as they move into another year. It's extremely interesting that this is all seeming to line up with this paradigm built into the book of the Bible. Now I'm going to get to a bunch of dates here as we move forward. I'm trying to set this up so you guys understand the next 2 months of Tammuz and Av are going to be extremely pivotal and probably the catalyst to moving us into the quarter of the world that's going to be taken under control by Erdogan and the SEALs. But one last thing I want to point out in Jeremiah 25 verse 1 is it also indicates that this is the 1st year of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. And so if you look at that, we're going to have this transition from the death of Gog in Ezekiel 38 and 39 around March of 2026 into Antichrist by around March 19th of 2026, because the signing of the treaty with the nations is on March 30th of 2026, which gives you your 1260 days to the Feast of Trumpets of September 10th of 2029. So Jeremiah is speaking to all the people inhabitants of Judah, telling them they are getting ready to go under judgment. And also, this is interesting. Okay, now he's talking about the 1st year of Antichrist up here. And also the 23rd year of Erdogan. Okay, Erdogan came in March 14th of 2023, and he will be in his 23rd year around March 14th of 2026, reflecting this date up here, and that signing of the treaty of March 30th of 2026, and that he indicates that he is going to speak against the nations. And also, I think it's extremely important that when you look at that March 14th of 2025 total lunar eclipse or blood moon that we had on this very specific date, which I believe was really the start of the 3 blood moons between March of 2025 and March of 2026. And when you hit this March 14th, 2025 date, basically everything broke. You had Trump hit the Houthis, this Gaza ceasefire fell apart, Israel expanded into Lebanon and Syria. And so at that moment in time, pretty much everything was starting to collapse. And so it's interesting that he indicates that this is the first year of Antichrist, but it's also because of this date stamp of the 13th year of the king of Babylon. Okay. He's indicating that it's also the 23rd year of Erdogan, which would basically be the destruction of Erdogan, like I said, around March 4th of 2026, on that sixth seal event, right after the last blood moon of March 3rd of 2026. So it's extremely important that we are watching these dates. So as you go into the last year of Erdogan, we're going to see what? We're going to see a lot of destruction from the March 2025 blood moon to that third blood moon in March of 2026. And there is a lot happening there. You also have the potential destruction of the Kurds around the Feast of Trumpets in that secondary blood moon event. And so I think it's extremely important that Erdogan came in on March 14th of 2003, and in 2025 we had a blood moon effect that starts a 3 blood moon event in a year, which would end up around this date, taking you into an Antichrist effect up here in Jeremiah 25 verse 1. I'm just saying this stuff seems to all be lining up. Now I want to show you some really, really interesting connections and why I think this is all going to matter to you as you move forward in the next 60 days. And you cannot have these kind of correlations, this many correlations, all popping up in this month of Tammuz and Av without something getting ready to happen. So Trump just recently gave Hamas until July 13th of 2025, which is the 17th of Tammuz, very important date, remember the 17th of Tammuz, to decide on a ceasefire that Israel has agreed to. Now Israel's agreed to this, but Israel's not going to stop until Hamas is eliminated, and so this is one of the biggest problems, is Hamas probably is not going to agree to this. The original ceasefire was set up for July 5th, which was also a cursed day and a siege on Jerusalem on 9 Tammuz. And so what has happened during this period of time as we move forward in the next week? Netanyahu is supposed to meet Trump at the White House as to discuss the Israel-Hamas ceasefire. I believe that occurred today on July 7th of 2025, the same day that Isaac Herzog moves into his 5th year. Israel sent a team to Qatar for hostage talks, but deems Hamas demands are unacceptable. I do not believe that anything will come out of Qatar. If anything comes out of anything, it will probably be this meeting above, because Trump will try to pressure Netanyahu into doing a ceasefire and some type of possible withdrawal. Netanyahu is not going to go for that because he wants to eliminate the threat as well as get the hostages back. The latest round of indirect ceasefire talks doesn't mean they're not actually face-to-face. They're going through some line of communication or leadership structure to do these talks between Israel and Hamas have ended up without a breakthrough, and that just happened today also. Isaac Herzog, Jehoiakim, moves from, like I said, his 4th year into his 5th year of presidency on July 7th, 2025. So we should be fulfilling all of the prophecies on or around that 4th year of. So when you look at these 3 weeks of mourning, judgment, destruction upon Israel, we're culminating into that between July 13th of this year, 2025, and August 3rd of 2025, which would be the 17th or the 9th of Av, excuse me. And as it indicates here, both the first and second temple were destroyed on the 9th of Av. And so these 3 weeks leading up to the 9th of Av, which is August 3rd, I believe are going to be extremely important as we walk into that prophecy of Jeremiah 1 and Jeremiah 25. So I'm sort of laser focused between the next 3 months, between this July 13th, 2025 and this August 3rd, 2025 dates, because it is the 3 months of the weeks of mourning, which culminated into the destruction of the 2 temples. And so this is extremely important. I also think it's extremely important that when you get into the 24th, which is on the 28th of Tammuz, we see that Ruven Rivlin also completes his 11th year, moving into his 12th year. And on that very specific day of the 28th of Tammuz, we have a new moon, which takes us into the month of Av. Okay. And as I said, the month of Av would actually start on July 24th, okay? And you can see this new moon starts on July 24th, the same day that Ruven Rivlin or Zedekiah completes his 11th year, moving him into the 12th year of his presidency. Look, there's too many connections here to say there's nothing going on here, and that this 3 weeks between the 17th of Tammuz and the 9th of Av could not be possibly critical for Israel as they move forward. And if these ceasefires completely collapse and break down in the next week or so, going into that July 13th, 2025 date, or the 17th of Tammuz, we could see potentially Turkey invade and start a procedure of going down into Lebanon and into Israel, as it indicates in Alexander's movements, as I've always shown you on the maps, okay? And I'm not going to get into that, but if you've been watching my videos, you'll realize, and I've been speculating for some time, that we would see Erdogan attacking Tyre, Lebanon around the end of July, going into a siege on Jerusalem and Israel around the month of July through October, going into a battle of Gaza in October of 2025. So we need to watch this very, very specific window of time in the next 60 days, because I believe you're going to see something extremely important happen. So when you look at that July 24th day, when we have the new moon, this is the same day that Ruven Rivlin completes his 11th year, which is the date of 28 Tammuz, taking us into the first day of the new month, which is a new moon of the month of Av. Okay. This actually is wrong. I want to change that because this actually runs to August 26th of 2025. So you have that new month of Av between July 25th and August 26th, 2025, and that would then take us into the 9th of Av, which is the most cursed day in the history of the Jews. And this is when both the temples were destroyed. You have this 3 weeks between the 17th of Tammuz and the 9th of Av. And also the last thing I wanted to bring to your attention is when you get to the 9th of Av of this year, you are at exactly 1,500 days to the Feast of Trumpets of September 10th of 2029. In my opinion, that is the rapture, or the removal of the people that believe in the Lord Jesus. And this is extremely important because you are moving into past another 100-day mark. So we are right now, I'll give you the date and then I'll explain what I'm talking about. So if you're in July 7th, getting ready to go into the 8th, this evening, you'll be at 1,526 days to the Feast of Trumpets, September 10th, 2029. When you hit this 1,500 day mark of 9 Av, you're going into the 1400s, okay? And I believe that every time you hit a 100-day mark, moving into the 1260 days, things are going to amplify, accelerate, and start to progressively get much worse. And if you think about where we are on July 7th, 2025, and Erdogan has to consume basically the Middle East in 7 to 9 months to get back to Israel by March of 2026 with 10 full nations that's going to be sieging that nation. A lot has to happen in that period of time, and so I guess is they're going to see a serious breakdown. Monday, we saw the markets in trouble today. The tariffs aren't going away. Trump is going to make a decision with this Gaza ceasefire at the end of this week, and so I think there's a lot happening at this moment in time which should bring us to the conclusion that we all should get right with the Lord Jesus and realize that things are getting ready to break out here. But I wanted to bring these connections to you. I think it's extremely important that in the next 60 days we're going to see a lot happening here, and my main concern is, like I say, between the 17th of Tammuz, 9th of Av, leading into these 3 weeks of mourning, going into a destructive mode where both temples were destroyed on this very specific day of August 3rd in 2025, which makes sense because when you go into Jeremiah 1 and 2 and Jeremiah 25:1, it talks about in the month of Av we would see this happen. So I just wanted to bring all these connections to you. Please get right with God. Realize that the Son, Jesus, is the only open door. You probably should be putting plenty of oil in your lamp at this time and getting your affairs squared so that you can weather the next 4 years or the next 1526 days as we move forward to the Feast of Trumpets of 2029, and hopefully that is the time that this all goes away and we get out of this madness. No one wants to live in this world of madness like this. That's why God gave us this potential to have rescue, and we're starting to see all these terrible events happening and culminating across the planet. I do want to say a special prayer for the families in Texas through all the flooding and things that have gone down there in the last 72 hours, and potentially they are still under distress of more rain, and so we should be thinking about the people that are being affected at this time, not only here but over in the Middle East and across the globe as we move forward into this next year. We're all going to see destructive things happen, and it is going to affect us personally. If not personally ourselves, we're going to know somebody that is affecting or whatever. So just realize all this is happening. I thought these connections were extremely important to bring to your attention, and that we need to be watching things and also telling people, if you truly believe that you're starting to see something form in front of you, then you must warn people that it's getting ready to come. It's like this flood down in Texas. They started to warn these people, but they just didn't have enough time to get out, and what happened? They were all swept away, and we lost all these people. Okay? Look, this isn't for flesh people. This is for souls, and you're going to lose these people's souls if you don't rescue them before we get to the beast system, and they then sign that dotted line, get on a terrible system as we move forward in March 30th, 2026. It's going to be horrific, and these people are going to be destitute when they get there. So unless they're aware of what's happening, and that they know that they have to understand that they have to believe in the Son Jesus, and that the first person that's coming down is an antichrist, okay? not Jesus. The first person, the one he warned you about, is Antichrist. And you cannot be on that system. And that system's getting ready to start in March of 26. So God bless and have a great night.